Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for being with us. We begin tonight with some good and bad news for local renters. It's now easier to find places to rent. But the bad news, the cost continues to go up. Jennifer LaGrassa breaks it down for us.
If you're a renter in Windsor, Essex, here are 3 things you should know based off of a recent report. First, over the last year, there were more vacant units available. The vacancy rate went up to 3.3%. Central and West Windsor had the most vacant units. These are the areas near the University of Windsor and St. Clair College. One expert says that this was a trend they saw in other parts of the province, likely because of the government limiting the number of international students.
The rental housing providers in the region, we spoke with them and just asked some additional questions, and it definitely came out that there was, less student rental demand, particularly in those areas, and that, the intake of student renters decreased this year.
Second, there were no affordable one-bedroom units available for those low to mid-income renters. These are units where people would spend 30% or less of their income.
So that's a big warning flag that more supply is needed on that, targeted to those people specifically. There is more rental supply being built recently than there has in previous years. Now, it's not nearly where it should be, but there is some positive news in terms of, purpose-built rental being added to the market, and some of that is on the affordable side.
Third, when looking at the overall rent increase in Windsor, it went up by 7.4% over the last year. Even though there were more vacant units and ones being built, the supply still isn't enough to lower rent. Moving into next year, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says that as mortgage rates drop, people might be buying homes more. This would free up rentals, possibly making the market more affordable. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
If you use the bus to get around Windsor, this story will matter to you. The city is investing in the transit service, but the union that represents bus drivers says the improvements aren't coming soon enough. Chris Ensing reports.
Massive improvements could be coming to Transit Windsor. The city is looking at renovating this old transit garage by adding storage space and fixing broken repair bays, but mechanics charged with repairing the aging bus fleet say that it's a difficult task with the equipment that they have, that it could create delays in the winter, and the union representing workers say that passengers are taking their frustrations out on drivers who have nothing to do with the problem.
The general public gets on and they're angry at us because that's the first person they see, and they believe it's the operator's fault. And our members are really tired of taking the brunt of the frustration and the anger from, the traveling public.
He says riders are frustrated with service and that a long wait for a bus starts with equipment problems. Issues in the garage made headlines in January during tense labor negotiations. Broken hoists delaying repairs to aging buses. People had to wait twice as long for a bus on some of the routes. The city bought mobile hoists to fix the problem, calling them a cost-effective solution that meets the industry standard. The union representing mechanics disagrees and warns there could be similar problems this winter.
Just this morning, a senior representative from the company that manufactures these hoists met with a number of our mechanics to go through some training exercises and answer some questions. And he himself confirmed some health and safety concerns, rather, that our members have been bringing up. And, they said, this is the hoist company, it's unsafe to do certain tasks on those temporary hoists. So that is actually making this problem even more complicated.
Transit Windsor isn't doing interviews. Executive Director Tyson Craig leaves for a new job in Lakeshore next month. The city is paying a consultant $2.4 million to design a newly renovated garage. Part of that contract includes an expanded repair area with a new heating system, replacing repair equipment, and beefing up the electrical system to potentially support an electrified bus fleet. They want the job done for less than $35 million and construction complete by April 2027 without service interruptions. The union wants immediate action.
2 years have gone by, and now they're bringing in a consultant.
Council was warned about these potential issues when they voted against building a new garage 2 years ago. They said at the time that fixes to the aging garage would cost about $43 million to extend the life of the building beyond 2026. Council has not approved any of the design work or construction work that is attached to renovating this old garage. The city does say that they will not leave passengers stranded waiting for the bus this winter. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy is with us now for a first look at weather. Colette, another chilly one today. I left my gloves inside the building and I got really cold when I went out.
Yes, I mean, you know, this is kind of a slow adjustment because we won't be using the word chilly when we get to the weekend and that much colder Arctic air gets here. But this is just to kind of ease us into it a little cooler. That system moved through just basically as billed, not a lot to it. Had a few sprinkles kind of earlier, a little bit of light rain. Much of it was melting on contact elsewhere in the province as it falls, so a few centimeters much further to the northeast. But for us overnight tonight, -3, but with the winds, it doesn't take much. It's going to feel like -7. Tomorrow afternoon, I think we'll see a mix of sun midway through the day, and then those clouds come back in. But another system moving in Thursday into Friday, we might get some snow accumulation. More on that coming up.
Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
Mixed reactions today after Ottawa unveils its plan to strengthen Canada's borders. This, of course, in response to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and his threat of 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods if Canada does not stop the flow of migrants and drugs into the United States. Now, while there are some conflicting views on the execution of the plan, one thing many agree on is that tightening the borders must be a priority.
We have to send the signal to our #1 trading partner that, yes, absolutely, we agree that we need to have security first and foremost, top of mind. And then how do we do that without interfering with the efficient movement of people and goods? I think that's something we need to think about because the last thing we want is more thickness of the border. A thickening of the border is always not a good idea.
New measures include helicopters and drones for the RCMP, more sniffer dogs, new technology to detect drug trafficking, plus a new joint strike force to tackle organized crime. According to the Customs and Immigration Union, they were not consulted on this plan. The national president says the technology is great, but what they need is more staff. Right now, they're short 2,000 to 3,000.
It's unfortunate that it's really taken this to get the government of Canada to put some renewed focus on our borders. We've been calling for more staff, more equipment. A lot of the things we see coming out now, we've been kind of screaming into the wind for years and no one's been listening. It's really desperate. Our members they work a lot of ports of entry where they're really exhausted. It's hard for 3 people to do the work of 10, right?
Windsor West MP Brian Massey says he is disappointed by the plan and says he doesn't want to see the militarization of the border. He also agrees that boots on the ground should be the priority rather than technology. He also believes that there's going to be financial stress downloaded onto Windsor taxpayers.
I can guarantee you this, there is no way that there won't be additional costs that'll get passed on to the city, either one way or the other later on.
Windsor's mayor was unavailable to speak with me about the potential local impact, but the mayor of Sarnia did speak with CBC and he agrees that tightening the border is the right move. He was asked whether he believes that the new measures will be enough to curb the threat of tariffs.
It'll never be enough, and we're being played. And I think we're responding the way we can to the situation that's happened in the United States. But we've got to live with that. And we can only do the best that we can.
He believes the next crucial step is bringing border city mayors together to talk about how to implement this border agenda. Let's turn now to the Hiatus House. The emergency shelter is often at capacity throughout the year, even around the holidays. For women and children staying there who have fled abusive situations, Christmas can be a tough time. But as Jason Vio found out, shelter staff still try to make it as special as they can.
We do try to provide for the families as best we can, and we do ask Santa to show up here, you know, that not to forget the children who are staying with us during the holidays.
Well, we try really hard to keep up those traditions that some families might do at home, so we always do an elf on the shelf. We try to do different activities with them. So we have door decorating. Everyone gets to wrap their doors in wrapping paper, decorate it like presents. So I wear a full elf costume. There's a hat, there's a dress, I've got stripy tights. elf shoes that jingle. I go full into it, mainly for the children, and the children really like it a lot. I go with one of our child and youth worker. Her and I, we have the presents, we play Christmas music in the morning, we wake everybody up, we go door to door with each person's gifts.
Holy doodle! This is awesome.
It is the time of the year that we bring in the most donations. So the donations that come in through the holiday season will last us throughout the year.
The children really light up and they think, oh my gosh, it's real. Santa actually knows that I'm here. He came to visit, he sent an elf. And we'll just do like a wakey wakey, time to get up, it's Christmas morning, and just little things like that. And then it's usually, oh my gosh, Mom, get up, Santa's here. My favorite one would be a child asking me how long I could stay until I have to go back to the North Pole. I thought that was very cute. I let them know that, you know, Santa's very busy, so he sends out people to make sure that they get their presents, they get to do a fun thing, and it's really heartwarming to see the moms thanking us, because obviously being in a shelter, it's difficult to give your children the Christmas that you normally do. They might not have enough money, they might not be able to do a big show, so for us to be able to do that for them, you see how much they appreciate it, and it makes it so worth it with how busy everything is.
Normally, just around the holiday season, we get a bit of a decrease in people because families try to stay together during that period of time. But as we know, the holidays are very busy, sometimes chaotic, and we will see a rise in people coming back into shelter after the holidays. So it tends to be a pretty regular pattern.
Maybe they wouldn't have a good Christmas at home because maybe they didn't get to celebrate because of whatever they were facing. Maybe they didn't get to do the things that they get to do here, or you know, maybe they don't get to open their presents in a safe place where they get their own kind of gifts. So it's just so heartwarming, and it's really like the most beautiful thing is to be here on Christmas is my favorite.
Such a great story. And now in studio, we've got Dale Molnar with us because Dale, it is your last week. We've told you all that he is retiring. After more than 30 years, you're putting the mic down, but we're taking a walk through time and we're revisiting some of your best stories. So what do you want to talk about tonight, Dale?
So looking at all this stuff makes me feel old. I see some of my pictures where I don't have gray hair. Well, Kat, the most transformative development, of course, in this city is by far the casino. I've been covering the casino going back to when it was just an idea and there was a selection process for the operator that the province was involved in, and Donald Trump was hoping to be chosen for that. Well, obviously not successful. In 1994, I co-anchored the live opening night gala of the temporary casino for Trillium Cable. The art gallery was where the aquatic center is now, and it was converted to the casino, the temporary casino. And I also covered the opening of the permanent casino for radio, and that was kind of cool. There were some celebrities such as Regis Philbin and Robin Leach I got to interview, and I covered the opening of the expansion in 2008, where it became Caesars Windsor. And of course, the ups and downs, the strikes, the effect of 9/11. There's Daisy Fuentes at the casino opening. The changes to bylaws. I've seen the casino go through a number of changes and challenges, including, of course, the pandemic. But just recently, they got the single sports betting sports book, which they've been pushing for some time, and I was there for day one of that, too.
And Dale, we know a lot changed when more competition started popping up in Detroit. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. You know, when they first opened, we saw the video there. The people were lined up out the door, and there were no other casinos anywhere around. They had to bring in a riverboat called the Northern Belle Casino in 1996 to handle the demand, and it was docked down at the river. But now only 25% of the clientele comes from the States, so it's not quite as crazy busy as it used to be, but it still provides lots of employment. It's the second largest employer in the town and for the city, and millions of dollars in revenue for the city too.
Yeah, really cool to look back on that. Thanks for that, Dale, and you'll be back here tomorrow night for more.
Once again.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, up next, it was a night of music, memories, and drinks, and likely some tears at Windsor's Fog Lounge. The iconic downtown club held a final show before closing its location at University Avenue. Vouchers, vouchers. 42 musical acts took turns taking to the stage last night, playing to a packed house, and the venue holds a soft spot for musicians in the city. It's been there for 20 years, but it's not closing for good. It'll reopen in the new year at a new location on Erie Street. Let's take a live look outside there. We will have more news right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Donald Trump has called our prime minister a governor repeatedly on social media. He has described Chrystia Freeland as toxic, and now he is once again suggesting that Canada should become a U.S. state. Katie Simpson looks at the latest salvo from the incoming U.S. president and his ongoing jabs at this country.
It was 3:23 in the morning when Donald Trump took another swipe at Canada on social media, again needling his neighbor to the north. It begins with a broad and inaccurate complaint about the trade deficit. He describes it as a subsidy, claiming it's around $100 million. It's followed by this. Many Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. They would save massively on taxes and military protection. I think it's a great idea. Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill largely brushed off our questions about Trump's repeated quips.
Donald Trump keeps talking on social media about making Canada the 51st state. I'm curious as to anyone has any insight as to why or what you might think of that.
So humor is dead. I think to the second part of the question, I think Donald Trump is being humorous, okay?
Trump's digs come during a moment of political chaos in Canada. On top of the turmoil around Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's leadership, Ottawa just revealed part of its plan to try to avoid Trump's tariff threats. He's vowed to impose 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico unless both countries improve border security. Canada announced it will spend $1.3 billion to make the border with the U.S. more secure. But whether it will satisfy Trump, Republican lawmakers tell me it's anyone's guess.
You're asking me to read the mind of President Trump, and I will say that I support him, and he's doing a masterful job. He's an incredible leader. Will what Canada's doing be enough to prevent tariffs being imposed upon Canada? I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any insight on that, but I simply don't know.
Trump's inner circle has taken notice of Canada's border security announcement. His incoming press secretary for the White House is marking it as a win on social media, describing it as Trump's ability to make change before he's even in office. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
And this week, the loonie dipped below 70 cents U.S. for the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. It comes amid Donald Trump's tariff threats and turmoil in the Trudeau government. Anis Haidari looks at what a weaker dollar means for our economy and our wallets.
Traveling Canadians say a dollar worth 69 cents U.S. isn't nice.
Just sucks. It's become horrible the past year.
Killing us. And it's just going down, 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 down.
I do remember one time it was at par, but that was a while ago.
That was more than a decade ago. These days...
Well, the dollar is definitely on a tailspin.
Experts say it's about where to expect growth.
It always comes down to the economy. That is the number one biggest driving force of how the dollar moves. So if the expectation is that the U.S. economy and GDP will do better than Canada, money and investment will move there.
And tariff threats from Donald Trump may keep dragging down Canada's dollar.
I actually am worried or concerned, I should say, that it is going a bit weaker yet until we get, some relief on the tariff front or, some better economic news to help support the currency.
After the Federal Reserve cut interest rates in the U.S., Canada's dollar fell even more. A low Canadian dollar can make imports more expensive. Think fruits and vegetables from outside Canada. Though things sold or exported in U.S. dollars can benefit. And for tourism, visitors may get more bang for their U.S. buck.
Those that have U.S. dollars, because this is basically almost free money for them in terms of the increased margin.
Definitely something some Americans notice.
It's great. Clothes, Aritzia's 30% off. It's really good.
As for where the Canadian dollar goes next, there are forecasts it could drop even more to its lowest level in nearly a decade. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
We also want to remind you that our Make the Season Kind campaign continues. We are raising awareness and collecting donations for local area food banks. And you can drop off donations right here at our CBC Windsor station between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. And so far, with help from our partners, we have raised more than $10,000, which is amazing. Thank you so much for the support. And Colette Kennedy will be back with us after the break for more on weather. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. And Colette, it looks like we might be getting some snow in the coming days.
Yes, we might have actual snow, not like this kind of system non-event thing that has been going through today, right? Okay. But I don't want anyone to get ahead of themselves. I'm not talking about a white Christmas yet. I'm not going there. We're just talking, first of all, in the short term. Okay, so let me show you what's going to be happening here. These are our current temperatures, and as they do cool down tonight, any moisture kind of left behind on the backside of the system, yeah, it means we have a few flurries into the evening, that possibility, and through the early overnight as those temperatures kind of drop. And then tomorrow, with winds out of the west to northwest, although they're not going to be very strong, it won't take much, so it is going to give us a bit of a wind chill, so it's going to be an even cooler feel to the day on Thursday. But then it's as we get to tomorrow night, I want to show you what's going to be happening. So this is the main system that's kind of moved through today. It moved very, very quickly, did not have a lot of moisture with it, and temperatures were such that it's kind of what was coming was either even some showers at times or just sort of melted on contact. So we'll leave that as system one. Let's talk now about system number two. Okay, so I'm going to roll this on through the day on Thursday. I do want you to know that at times it may not be quite this sunny and bright, but we should have some sunshine kind of mixing with clouds until we get into the afternoon. Later afternoon, they thicken up. And here comes our next player that moves in. Now by then, with the air temperature cooler, likely cool enough that we see some of this sticking, I'm not talking about extreme amounts in any fashion, but enough that we might see a little bit of a dusting appearing on the ground, okay? And that kind of takes us through overnight Thursday into early Friday morning, and then just some flurries kind of left behind likely as we get to later on in the day there on Friday. So looking at those amounts a little further north, some lake enhancement, Sarnia, maybe 7-8 centimeters. London could be more significant. And hey, let's put this around 2 to 4 centimeters perhaps from Chatham-Kent through Leamington and back towards Windsor. So we'll just have to watch that temperature profile because that's going to be so crucial as to whether we see this actually as some snow and giving us that snow or light accumulation on the ground. Overnight tonight, we slide down to -3. But you factor those winds in, at times it's going to feel more like -6, -7. And here you go into Thursday. So up to freezing, that's the high. Some sun in there, and then clouds increase again late in the day. That system on Friday, but it's really Thursday night into early Friday. And then there's winter coming in on Saturday and making itself known with Arctic air.
Thanks so much for that, Colette, and thanks to you all for watching. We will see you back here tomorrow.